when we're.
Okay, I'm just starting all the recording
Tell me when we're
devices
ready.
right now, so.
Okay.
Marla's not here today.
Is Marla here?
Oh, no.
She is out of town, actually.
Oh, so who do we have recording?
We have our trusty computer recording.
Great.
Oh,
And she'll
okay, right.
she'll do it later.
Yeah, she's
That's
gonna,
right.
she'll listen to the recording.
Okay. Not a
Lucky
problem.
her.
You guys can't do that. Okay, we're ready to start then, and you're live on YouTube. and the
Okay, we
recording's
are up
going?
and running, yep.
Okay, great. Okay, well, want to welcome everyone to the Planning Commission meeting for Alpine City, August 17th, 2021. And we have with us here the Planning Commission members, Troy Slade, Ethan Allen, John McKay, Alan McDonald, and Ed Bush, and myself, Jane Greiner. And then from the city, we have Austin Roy, the city planner, and online with us, we have Jed Muhlstein, the city engineer. Is there anyone else with us online that I need to recognize? I don't see them, so if there is anybody else with us, welcome. We'll go ahead and we'll ask John to give us an opening prayer and then Ed to lead us in a pledge of allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful this evening to be gathered together in the Planning Commission meeting for City of Alpine. We're grateful for our opportunities to serve and to meet the needs of our citizens. We pray that Thy Spirit will attend us in our deliberations, that we'll be able to discuss the issues at hand and come up with solutions that will be favorable to all parties. We're grateful for this land in which we live and the freedoms which we enjoy in this beautiful city which we have to serve. And this we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Mabel, please stand and join me with.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I was trying to, yeah. Okay, so the first thing we do in the meeting is allow for public comment, and anyone can comment on an item that's not on the agenda. If your item that you're here for is on the agenda, then we'll address it at that time. So it would come up to the pulpit or whatever you call it, and
I think I'm on the agenda, maybe you can tell me.
okay.
You are, yeah.
Is he on the
Yep.
agenda? Okay, perfect, no problem.
You're the first item on the agenda.
Oh,
after public
perfect.
comments.
Hey, number one. Okay, did we have any email that, I didn't see any email of someone that wanted to bring anything to the agenda?
No, we don't. We've
Okay.
actually stopped taking public comment via email.
Okay.
So now it's, if you
Now
want to
that we
make a
have a
public
public
comment, you
meeting,
have
they
to
can
come in
attend.
person.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so given that, then we'll just move right into our action items. So the first item we have is a lot exception. It's a lot with more than 5 sides. And Austin, are you gonna present that or start us?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and
Okay.
let me just pull this up on the screen so you can kind of see the plat that they're proposing here. So this is on Ridge Drive, approximately, it's just right south of the 700 East intersection there where that comes into Ridge Drive. This is on the plat that you're seeing on your screen, that's lot 1. The actual address is 720 East Ridge Drive. And so what's going on here is it's really not that complicated, but our ordinance is very specific about a lot that has more than 5 sides. So what he's doing here is he's just wanting to adjust his backyard property line between his neighbor and himself. So that would be, Mr. Laney is lot 1 and his neighbor is lot 2. And so he's actually, I believe he's acquiring a small piece of their property and just wanting to readjust that boundary line.
Do they know?
They do. I think they're being compensated for it financially.
Very good question.
Very good
Right,
question.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, she's been communicating with me via
Okay.
email, and so she's aware that this is going on tonight. And so, looking at it, some of our main concerns when we see a boundary line adjustment is, does it make the lot non-conforming? Are they messing with their frontages? Are they messing with their minimum square footage requirements? And in this case, none of that stuff is going on. It's just, they're just adjusting that backyard. But, as our ordinance says, a lot shall be generally square in nature and shall have no more than 5 sides without an exception being granted by the planning commission, or recommended by the planning commission and granted by the city council. And so that's why Mr. Laney's here tonight. Staff, we don't really see, if this had 5 sides, we would have just approved it.
Right.
So-
Did the line used to go straight across there, and so he's just extended that one little wedge?
In the back, it'll. only
Yeah.
line between us and our neighbor. I think I already had 6 sides. before this happened.
Yeah, this is his existing,
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
he actually
Just-
already has 6
I
sides,
did not
so.
develop
Yeah.
this lot,
Yeah.
tell you, but I'm quite acquired, but anyway.
Okay,
And I'll just tell you. Ed,
just
like,
state your name and address
I'll
really
start
quickly
very
for,
plainly, 728 Ridge Drive.
thank you, go ahead.
So I just want to make a comment. Ed Gifford was our surveyor,
Mm-hmm.
no lot for the city.
Oh, I know who he is.
And his comment was, if he was here tonight, would say, this change makes it more natural towards the topography.
Mhm.
I can use more of the land together, and so can our neighbor by making this change. So that was his main comment, is it makes sense to do it,
Mhm.
and whoever developed it could have made a better attempt at doing that. in the first place with the slope.
Yeah.
You know, so that's-
They were probably trying to follow the ordinances. Okay, but I can see now on this one that Jed's showing, or that Austin's showing how it was straight. I just kind of wanted to
It
see what the
was.
change
Yeah,
was.
this is what it looks
Thank
like
you.
right now, and he wants to
Yeah.
change it to the other one.
Okay, that's all. That's
Other
good.
point, actually, another important point
Uh-huh.
to bring up is Mr. Laney actually also got, he went and spoke to all the utility companies, so there is a
Mhm.
utility easement that
I
goes through
saw
there.
that, yeah.
And they have all signed off, they're okay with
They're
this
all
new
fine with
alignment.
Ben,
This will
okay.
work for them, so.
Okay.
This doesn't present a problem with lot 2 then, right? I'm trying to.
No,
There-
I don't see any
1, 2,
issues with
3.
lot 2.
Yeah.
So I actually
Um,
wouldn't even touch
yeah.
that.
And did the utility companies abandon the easement? Did they abandon it, or because it will change the easement in the other lot to be,
Yeah.
like 20 feet different or more? So I'm assuming there's nothing back there. It's not a normal place where something would be, but
It's usually these types of easements are there.
cable.
I mean, there's a rare occasion, maybe like a phone line back in the day would have gone through
Right.
this or something like that, but a lot of the time, they're not used.
I've confirmed all of it, even had some of them come out. to just
Okay.
Be sure.
That's
And
great.
And Ed also said, there's no way there's any.
Yeah.
back there. And by the way, when we bought the lot, our front yard was not developed. And we've developed since then, we had them all marked, we know where the utilities are,
Yeah.
never ever went back there.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I did that with a shed recently.
Good idea.
Had my abandonments done. Okay, I don't have any other questions on it. Does anybody else have questions on it then? Okay, thanks. You
Thank
can,
you.
appreciate you coming to answer any questions we have. So,
Do we need or do we have any kind of acknowledgement or acceptance by the owners of lot 2 as part of the record?
I don't think we have it as part of the record, and we could add that if we wanted to. There is
So-
you have the signature in
On
your,
the right-hand side of
of
this
the-
document here, there's actually a signature block over here, and so all ownership parties have to sign this before it would be recorded.
Yeah.
And it's signed and notarized, I should say.
Mhm.
So.
Is there anything else the city requires before it's recorded? I mean, it has to go to city council and get approval. We're recommending.
I mean, it has to go through our approval process and we've been working with Gary on that
Oh.
up until this point. So now we're really just down to the point where we need approval from the city council. But
Hmm.
once that's ready, the final copy of the Mylar is ready to be recorded and we just need the signatures.
Okay,
They will both sign it, and Lori Anderson's the.
other party. Okay, thank you. Let's see, any other questions that anyone has regarding, what you would need if you have any concerns about it, or what we would need for a motion? Okay, we're ready for a motion then.
I recommend that we I make a motion that we recommend making exception to the 5-side lot rule and the realignment between lots 1 and 2 of High Bench Ridge Plat F.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by John McKay and a second by, I wasn't looking, sorry, Troy Slade. And discussion on the motion. Do we need to add anything about the required signatures, or is the county will take care of that? Or
No,
should we?
Yeah, that'll be taken care of. I mean, yeah, that'll be taken care of as part of the plat amendment process. So we have a standard process for that doesn't go through planning commission.
Okay. So it's not necessary to note.
It's not necessary in the motion.
The process
I mean,
is already in
you
place.
could add it in the motion if
Right,
you want.
but if they can't actually do it without already taking
Yeah.
those steps anyway, it probably is not necessary, so. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that passes. Enjoy your extra garden space or whatever you're gonna do with it.
Yeah, you can go.
You're good.
No, you have to
Thank you.
stay through the whole thing or else it nullifies your motion. It nullifies it if you don't stay to the end.
I'll do what you do. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the second item on action item, which is the setback exception for Brookside Meadow lot PRD, it's a PRD, it's lot 7. This is another setback request. So we'll have Austin show us this one.
All right. Okay, so tonight we are looking at lot 7 of Brookside Meadows. It's in the center of your screen there. So this lot is, I would say, is unique in the sense that it's narrow going the north to south as part of this lot. Building envelope is rather narrow, especially if you wanted to face the house to the east. You know, it'd be a very, very narrow type
When they
of house.
recorded it, what is the front of the lot when the lot was recorded?
The way that they recorded it, they platted it with showing a 30-foot rear setback to the west. So when they recorded it, it would seem that they had
Recorded
in
it
mind that it
wrong.
would be facing the east.
East-west orientation.
But
Yeah.
as the property owner has explained to me, it just seems to make so much more sense to face it to the south.
Right, so they had the 54-foot frontage be the front of the lot?
That 54 is, yep. I mean, a lot of houses can have a side garage entry.
Sure.
So maybe that's what they were thinking, because, you know, obviously you wouldn't be able to get a driveway is usually about 20 feet wide, so.
And
least.
let me just ask something about that. Is the side that the driveway comes in on the side that you're actually registered with for your actual address?
The address is actually with the Woodland Drive, which is the street in front of the lot.
Mhm.
Like the
Okay.
east-west street.
Okay,
South
yeah.
orientation.
And then in just a minute, we'll have you guys come up and comment and have you give your name and address. But yeah, go ahead and
Yeah,
finish.
I was just gonna
No,
say.
he wasn't done yet. I was just like looking at it while he was explaining, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so that brings up a good point. Corner lots actually, with the way we do corner lots is you basically get to pick your address. So
Okay,
if you want the Whitby Woodlands, you can do that. If you wanted the other one, I guess it would be Soldier Circle.
Let me chime in here just a little bit. So on the plat, we actually give corner lots 2 addresses, and whichever side the house faces,
Oh.
that side that gets the address.
thank you. I was trying to remember what we did
And
there.
it's not where the driveway faces, but the front door.
It
Yep.
is the front door. Okay, good to know. Thank you. That's what I just wanted to clarify, so.
So that being said, you know, if they face their house to the south, then the north property line becomes their rear property line because it's perpendicular to the front property line.
Sure.
And so in this, let me just go to the next screen here. So this is just the regular plat, but what they're hoping to do, so this is not so they have 2 proposals, but the main one that they want is this one right here. So which would be a 25-foot
Mhm.
front setback and a 17-foot rear setback.
Right.
They would maintain 30 on the east and the west sides. And so the other alignment, let me just show that here. So their
Yeah.
option
Open spaces to the
Two.
left, not to the rear in this case.
would be the same house, but they'd have to, if they decided to not have a setback exception on the front, then they have to push the house back further, and then it would put it at 12 feet rear setback.
So, okay. So which one, what are the recorded setbacks right now?
There are no setbacks are determined by the
I mean,
placement
I
of the
guess, I mean,
house.
what are the setbacks on this lot right now that we normally would
So
have
our
a 30?
standard setbacks, if
That's what
if
I'm trying to
someone came
say.
to me, the designer came to me, I would tell him that you have a 30-foot setback
Right.
on the east and a 30-foot setback on the south, because it is a corner lot. Those are set in stone. You can't change those.
These two
And
next to the
then
road.
depending on how you face the home,
Mhm.
one of the other property lines would become your rear property line, and a
Mhm.
rear property setback is gonna have 30-foot. That's our standard.
Mhm.
So those would be our kind of our standard setbacks. Side has to have a minimum of 12 feet.
Terrible lot. Right, yeah.
And so essentially here, what they're wanting to do is they want to say, look, we want to have that 12-foot side setback, but
Mhm.
we know it's technically the rear of our house, but we want it for the purposes of this plan, we want to use that side setback as our rear and just swap it with the other one.
Yeah.
So they're swapping their rear and their side
So,
setbacks essentially.
Okay, go ahead and finish before we start. Anything else? I'll bite my tongue.
Let me see here. Yeah, I believe that's everything. So again, this is not their main option. The one that they really want is this second option here on your screen now. So I
Which has
think
a
that's
20,
all
an
I-
exception on the front and the back this way, but it centers it more.
Yeah,
So
so
instead of being
this
30-12,
centers it a
we wanna
little
be
bit more in the lot.
25-17.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Can you go back to the subdivision?
So, yeah, I mean, my comment is doing that is we've looked at a number of setbacks in the rear and whatever, but most of the
They
time,
were-
or in fact, all the time, they've back to open
Open space,
space,
yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
to another property.
Right, that's, I think, the main concern on this
Right.
for me as well, is that this is back in other property. The next concern is, this was a terrible design of a lot,
Mhm.
because essentially they've made it really difficult to put a house on
Right.
because of the distance, so. What was the depth of that, of their house? What is the front to back? It's okay, you know, I don't know there, I'm
Shows
just,
on that
I'm
plan.
just, this, wait, is
They
this
don't
a
have
quarter, is
dimensions
this
on
a
this
quarter
plan.
acre? I mean, a 0.4 acre,
Austin, can you go back to the prior plat
yeah,
where we just were,
It's point-
the one that shows the building envelope?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, it's lot 7.
Yeah,
So just on this plat, looking at lot 7, where the building envelope
Yeah.
is, just what is this, what is the setback there on the north side of that lot? Just the way that shows this building envelope.
If we're referring to the dashed line,
Uh-huh.
that's showing a 12-foot setback there
Yeah.
on this plat.
because I guess they decided
was
to
labeled
pick
as-
that as the side.
That was labeled as a side.
That was labeled as a side, so that would assume that you had the front facing the 54-foot.
Front.
So I mean, okay, so just as a question then, if we did have, if they did have an east-facing entrance and basically just had a galley house, right?
Yeah. I guess the
Th-
side of their house
then-
would still be the same distance.
Yeah, so then the side of the, I mean, so the owners of lot 8, if the homeowners here went ahead and built a home, an east-facing home, the side of their home could be up to within 12 feet of the lot line.
Mhm.
Right,
Right.
but
Mhm.
you do a lot less activity
On the side.
on
of
your
the
side of your
house.
house than you do.
Yeah,
the rear of your
but
house,
but
right?
I'm saying, but you still have a wall right there, 12 feet off off the
You
brick
do,
boundary
as far
line
as
and-
view, as
and
far as
the-
a view line.
Yeah,
goes.
I mean,
Oh, the view
corridors.
line,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would be the same.
I'm thinking about
Privacy.
activity in the
Yeah,
back of your
I'm just
house.
thinking,
in the back.
I'm just thinking how it affects lot. I'm just thinking how it affects the owners. Number one, it's a PRD, right?
Yeah.
And second, you've got you've got. We understand there's private open space to the west, but you've got a homeowner to the north.
And that's the main
But
portion
the
of it.
homeowner the homeowner of the owners of lot 8 could be dealing with a home, granted it's the side of the home, but that's the side of a home that is 12 feet from the boundary line.
Mhm,
Which is our standard,
Yeah.
which could be our standard as long as the two.
Right. Like you said, it's more of a privacy
So
thing.
I'm just thinking of options here, right? I'm not advocating one thing or another. Look at it. Obviously, we try to accommodate, but we've also got land use ordinances to try and apply somewhat uniformly, right? But so it's always the struggle, and this just comes up time after time after time. We try to figure this out. So I was thinking impact. One thing I would look at in trying to juggle equities here is the impact to the owners of lot 8. And I guess I'm just saying, if I'm on lot 8 and I'm talking, to my potential neighbors on lot 7, I'm probably pleased. I think I'd probably be happy if actually the home was 17 feet off that north line per one of their proposals instead of 12.
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
then
I mean,
you've
I
got the
don't know,
25 feet in the
possibility.
front, which is a kind of a curb appeal standard and the open field is why we have the 30 feet in the front. Are there any other reasons why we have 30 feet in the front? It's the standard throughout the city.
Yeah, it's just our aesthetic.
Makes it,
standard.
It's
it
the-
makes,
nice.
it makes the houses
Our-
line up, but in
Yeah.
this case, there's no houses to this,
Mm,
This
really
is-
lining up with it,
That's a
right?
good point.
this
Because
is
there's,
all
this is
hard
open
lot.
space.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
it is.
on the other side of the road, there's not a lot there. That's kind of a retention
What's lot
basin.
6?
Lot 6,
I guess they wouldn't be on the same side of the road anyway.
that is a lot,
Yeah.
and I've seen the plans for it, and the house actually
Mhm.
faces the west.
Okay, and so below lot 11 is private open space, that whole area. So there really wouldn't be a home on either side of this that faces the same direction then.
I mean,
Because
so,
I think. one
I
of
mean,
you
to me,
brought up
that's
a
an
good
issue that-
point. If one house is like 5 feet closer than another.
it changes the
changes the
sightlines.
aesthetic.
Yeah, but then you don't have, in this case, it doesn't because there's no,
Because it just happens to. not
there's
be-
no
yeah.
houses on either side.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a driveway come in from off of Soldier, with the garages that way and then face the other way, but it still wouldn't change the lot line, so. Will you go back to the proposed now that we have a feel for where we're at here? There aren't any CCNRs about the garages being on the same side as the front door. Does it have no side garage requirements on the. If you want to come up to the stand, if you guys have any question or anything you'd like to let us know, you're welcome to come up and state your name and address. And you don't have to either though, but if you want to. Just state your name and address.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Raul Garces, or Stephanie Garces, and we're at 1239 North, 1100 East in America.
Okay, great. And so is there anything that you want us to know about what your request is?
Yeah, I think, everybody's spot on. I mean, when we purchased a lot, honestly, we didn't read much about the details, right?
Mhm,
So we were expecting to be facing south.
mhm,
And as a matter of fact, we went immediately after we purchased a lot, we went in, there's a Prado home in,
mhm,
and then we just decided that's the house, we said fits just perfect. So I'm happy to have a plan over here, and that's what we're gonna do. So, but then obviously came up the issue of the boundary, so that's why Spencer Box, he's the builder.
mhm,
We decided, well, to have more space in the back, we take 17 it's good enough, and then 25 in the front,
Mhm,
to be able to give, the neighbors a little more space in the back.
mhm.
And our idea of, Mr. Bush was actually talking about, how much you spend in the back. Our idea is actually to spend more time on the east side,
Mhm,
because where we have more space,
mhm,
and that's where the family room eventually would be. So
mm,
we're gonna have an exit right there to that
Mhm.
area.
hmm,
So, and
okay.
it faces the east of the
Kind of
mountains.
had that side lot.
Yeah,
view.
correct,
Mhm.
correct.
Oh, that's good
So I
to
don't
know.
know if you want.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay, that's good to
Well,
know.
first, welcome to Alpine.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, right.
We're excited.
Eventually.
No, we're
I
excited.
certainly don't want your first interaction to be negative.
That's fortunate.
But I don't know, first thing your builder said was, wow, with your setbacks and the house you want to build, maybe we better shrink it 80, down 20% and then give it a shot.
It is definitely a challenge. There's no doubt about it. There's definitely a hillside on that west side, so we gotta figure out how to.
That's the other challenge.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
correct.
there this
Yeah,
west
so-
side slopes off?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
sorry,
the other.
That's
that's
right,
open
is that
space.
open, that's
space.
right, there's that
Yeah,
open space
that's the
below
other
it.
challenge.
Yep,
Yeah, correct.
yeah.
How much are developers getting for nearly unbuildable lots these days?
Too much,
You know,
right?
So
Well, I know the
story.
area, I know the area.
No.
It's a beautiful area and it's gonna be really nice, but this is
Yeah.
a challenge.
Yeah, we were not thinking about that
Sure.
particular detail.
No,
Yeah.
especially if you haven't built a home before.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, well, I think, what are our points of discussion then?
So quick question, is there any input either gathered or required on an exception, Austin, from adjoining lot owners? For example, do we have any input from the homeowners of lot 8?
No, we have not.
Is that required?
It's not required in this.
We make other
instance.
exceptions. It seems like you have to notify people in a certain setting with other
If
things.
this was a
but-
variance request,
Oh, a variance we would, but an exception we
going to a
don't.
hearing, our hearing
Oh,
officer,
probably because it's a
we do have a
PRD.
process in place
Yeah,
for
it's a
that.
PRD.
It is a PRD and because of that,
That's why we don't.
PRDs have
That's why,
this.
that's why we could just. do
Clause.
We can
Right.
accept, yeah, we have the right to do
Mhm.
an exception of that.
Have you? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I keep thinking to Alan's point, it does leave them more room in the backyard, 17, right,
Mhm.
instead of.
Yeah,
But
yeah, well, like you said, it gives
I
the
mean,
neighbors more space. I mean, your
The
windows of
thing
your
is,
back.
this is, I mean, this
typically
isn't even, it's not like they're just trying to, it's not like this is like a really
Massive.
buildable lot where we say, we're gonna do a really deep home. This is not a deep home.
face. Mhm,
We're just doing the,
yeah.
what do you fit on this? Because I mean, literally, if you,
mhm.
what's the standard setback again? 30?
30.
Austin, it should be
Yeah.
30?
30 in the
30
back.
is supposed,
So
the rear
like
is, the
literally,
backyard is supposed to be.
if you
30.
had 30 in the front and 30 in the back, it'd be tiny. Were there any CCNRs that were required as far as which direction the garage faces or anything like that? That you're gonna run into? Are there CCNRs for the neighborhood? Like some of them, you have to have a garage cast come in off the side or anything like that?
I don't.
I don't know.
Okay, okay, yeah, that might be, that would be the only thing, because that might completely change it. Some neighborhoods that have the CCNRs
That's a good
require
point.
a side entry garage so that your garage doesn't face the street, but
Correct.
just wanna make sure.
build nothing but-
Yeah, what is the depth or the, the width of this house from the front door to the back? Do you know what it is?
It's about 41 feet.
About 41 feet, okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, so it's not,
It's not super.
Oh,
it's
you
not
do have that?
massive.
No, it's
No.
not.
There's just like
Yeah.
nothing.
No, I don't see what you
It's
can
not
do.
an unreasonable plan.
No.
There's just nothing you can do with this
Yeah.
Yeah.
lot without an exception.
Yeah, like you said, unless you build a San
Yeah,
Francisco
so
house.
looking at the plans here, it's 41
That's right.
feet, 8 inches
Mhm.
from the frontmost point of the building to the back. So,
Okay,
yep.
all right, well, that answers my question there, so. Okay, I don't think I have any other questions. Unless you guys have any brilliant ideas, so thank you.
I wish you guys had. brilliant-
Wish we had
We're
brilliant
running out of
ideas.
ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, no
you're
problem.
nice people. We'll see if
Yes.
I don't know what to figure out. here.
Oh, what do we have as far as, what kind of requirements do we have as far as the what's the word? Building pad? The buildable area, what?
The envelope.
The envelope, thank you. On a
Jed
lot
can
like
speak
this-
better to that than I can. You,
Okay,
You
like,
there,
does it
Jed?
have a minimum width?
No, so the buildable area, you have to have a minimum of 5,000 square feet, and it cannot be on any slopes greater than 20%. The only times we actually record buildable areas on plats is when there is some kind of natural hazard that restricts the buildable area. On this plat, up in the cul-de-sac, there was some lots up there that required it. I actually don't know why they showed them on the rest of the plat. Yeah, we didn't really need to show it on the rest of the plat, but that is the requirement. Every lot has to have a minimum of 5,000 square feet of buildable area, and it does not specify width or depth or anything like that.
Couldn't you end up with a long lot then that has a 15-foot buildable area down the middle if you did a 30-foot setback and on the front and the back?
You could, but then you would end up with an unsellable lot.
If people knew.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, seriously, you know, like, it seems like that there should be some kind of a check.
well,
Um,
honestly, I think it would be very obvious that it would be a non-buildable lot. Most
Okay.
people come in with their own house plans and everything. They'd take one look at the lot and would know it wouldn't fit. So that's why I say you would end up with an unsellable lot.
Okay. Or a lot that.
But I mean, isn't that essentially what we're
exceptions to.
saying this is?
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because, I'm sorry, Garces?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Garces family
It's
just
a
saw,
perfect
well, this
example
looks
of
pretty
it.
good. And we've been to Parade of Homes, we see a home we really like, and yeah, hey, we'll have a southern exposure and we'll drop that right on the lot. But had you taken that and said, well, look, we've got a 30-foot setback requirement on the north and another one to the south, but you can't build anything on this but a row house.
Right. That's all I'm
It's
saying
almost,
is,
to Ethan's
it
point,
almost-
it almost becomes an unbuildable lot, because again, this is not a McMansion.
right.
Yeah.
You're building a small lot, there's just,
You
you
know,
can't,
I think we
you
should
can't
look,
hardly
I
fit
think,
anything on this.
I mean, not to make ordinances just to make ordinances, but this seems to me, and I know that we're practically done with things, but it seems to me like that, and rather than just square footage, there ought to be some kind of a minimum width and depth to a lot that takes in 30 feet and anyway,
Well, I guess it's kind
It's
of
beside the point, I guess, but-
right? I mean,
yeah,
I mean,
just seems like a dangerous.
I'm not second guessing the buying process, but I think that oftentimes you take a look at the lot, understand the setbacks, what you want to put on, and realize, how, without an exception, how are we gonna put this
Right,
house on this lot? And then it's like, okay, well,
or any
we've
house
heard,
that we
we've heard
want.
about those people on the planning commission. I don't know if we'll get an
Yeah.
exception or not.
Exactly, because
Right.
they're rough.
I mean, that's the roll of the dice.
We've rejected.
Like, I mean, have they ever even heard of Ed Bush? Do they-
What did you have for dinner?
Tacos, I'm a little spicy.
Tacos. All right, any other questions we have? Any thoughts,
So
John, you want to share? Okay,
And essentially, they could make this fit by moving the door and facing it the other direction.
yeah,
I mean, technically, if you had a
Technically-
door on the east side, we would call that the front of the
That would be the
house.
front of the house and it would be legal.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
right.
So I mean, to me, we're just addressing whether that is better to have the door on the front on that side or
You
better
get a point.
to move the house to the
Yeah.
middle of the lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Put it
what I'm
like
saying. If
that.
I'm the owner of lot 8,
Yeah.
I'd
Rather
rather have the
Have
back
them
of the
5
house,
feet farther away.
further, 5 feet.
Because
further.
I mean, essentially, I would say that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Either they're gonna build a house long and skinny with the door facing this way,
Yep.
or we're gonna move the house a little bit.
I mean, there is a privacy thing about the backyard though, right? I
Right.
mean,
There
you know,
is for sure.
You know, I mean, there's windows, there's everything, and
Right,
if you're right there,
yeah,
close to your, that would be a.
yeah. Could be.
I think that rear set, oops.
Okay.
I think that rear setback is intended to give primarily view corridors as
Mhm.
opposed to more privacy.
Mhm.
I think because of the open space on the west side of this lot, there's the need for that view
View
corridor is
corridors.
minimized.
Yeah.
In fact, it's enhanced to 17-foot
Yeah.
setback rather than the 12-foot
Yeah.
required.
Okay,
I'm in favor. of
any
that.
other points? Let's get a
So,
motion.
yeah, I mean, generally, I would say I'd be more, if I were the neighbors, I would be more in favor of this plan than the other.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if that's my choice, which I think it is, and essentially, this is a better plan. I don't, if there was another neighbor though on either side, I think I wouldn't approve
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It changes a lot by
It would
not
change
having another
everything.
house right there matching it. So does anybody wanna
I
make a
guess
motion?
I might be more amenable if we actually even decreased the front a little bit more and gave it more of a back. Like if you took
Mhm.
the front
Made it
and
20
set back
and-
like to 20 and made the back to 22. At
Yeah,
least you would give a little extra space on that side, you know, right? I was
Yeah.
looking, if you look at the plat, if you look at that, there's no house that follows them on their side of that road,
Right.
right? So
Right.
it isn't like, if you
Yeah.
brought it a little bit closer to the road, like it would jut out
Mhm.
in the southerly direction, because there is no house to the west.
Yeah,
you know, right?
20 feet's a pretty big difference from 30
from
feet
30,
though.
that's a big jump.
Yeah.
So,
It's
Um,
an aesthetic thing, right?
Jed, what do you think about the front setback?
I don't know.
It's all aesthetics, really. I'm not a planner. But to me, the front setback is all aesthetics. That's why in terms of our accessory structures, they're required to be 40-foot setback.
Right.
So they're back main buildings. So when you're driving down the road, your main view corridor is not cluttered up with buildings and whatnot. 20 feet, I don't know, 20 feet's getting up there.
Yeah.
Well, and it is a corner, right? So
Yeah,
essentially there are
Oh, yeah.
vehicles that would want to look down
Got
that
a sight
street.
triangle
eventually.
down
Well, you've got a
here.
sight triangle to worry
Yeah.
about as well. So, good point.
I'd give them 5. 10 seems a little excessive.
They didn't ask, we were just thinking. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
So can I?
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, I think your idea is great. So if we can move it actually 20, we can
Mhm.
have more in the back. I mean, we'll be okay with that too. I
Mhm,
mean, if
okay.
that's an option.
Okay.
So we can play with your house right now.
Moving around.
Austin,
As long as we're sliding south.
yeah, Austin,
Yeah.
will you go back to the neighborhood, the plat of the whole subdivision? And Austin, what do you think of 20 feet? I think it's
There's nothing here.
getting
mean-
pretty close, but
Yeah.
but I can see, you know, if you did 20 feet on the back and 22 on the front, I mean, what are you thinking?
I'm a little cautious when it comes to front setbacks, just because
Yeah,
I think it's important to maintain that uniformity throughout the whole city. That's
Yeah.
just something that our whole city's been designed around that from day one.
yeah.
Um,
We rarely give the front
And-
setback exception.
I mean, that being said, it's not, like you bring up the point, it's not on, if there were like 10 homes on this street. and
Or
you
or
had
even a
one-
home on either side.
One
of it.
house that stood out
Even
10
one,
feet in front of
yeah.
all the other ones.
That would
would
really
look bad.
stand
That
out.
would look really bad.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here. So, I mean, if there was an instance where you could have a little bit more wiggle room with the front, I think this is probably it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Can I speak?
Yes,
So if you could go
state your
back-
name. and
Spencer
address.
Box.
And your address, I'm sorry.
1109 North, 1490 East Lehigh.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the plot plan?
The house plan,
Yeah,
yeah.
the house plan, sorry. So really, if it did move out an additional 5 feet to make it a
Mhm.
20-foot setback,
Mm-hmm,
that front corner where that 30-foot measurement there
Mhm.
that's essentially the only place that it's gonna be out 20 feet. Because of the way that lot curves.
uh-huh,
So
right.
really, that's gonna be the only place that sits back 20 feet, and the rest of it's gonna be 25
Mm-hmm.
by the time you.
Yeah, that's a good
The
point.
garage, the
The
garage.
road
will-
curves to the
Oh, I see what
south.
you're
The
saying.
garage is
Yes,
over
I see
here.
what
So
you're
really,
saying.
it's just that east side.
Oh,
of the
I see
house
what you're
that's
saying, just that
inside
one
the
little
setback.
corner
That
there.
front corner there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Just wanted to point
Yeah.
that out.
That is a really good point.
Let's take a look at the 2517 design.
Because even on this one, you can see the far right-hand side of the house is still not touching that blue line.
It's like 30 feet. back.
Right.
So it's really just that right,
So
that
you're
middle,
really
right where
still-
the red line is going to, that 25-foot area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you did 3 more so that the back was 20? And the front was 22? So that, you know what I mean? Do you think there's any?
Sounds like
mean,
I'll see your
I
20.
guess it's 20, yeah, yeah.
Well,
I was
right.
just thinking,
Well,
what's the advantage of?
Well, Jane, rather than us being arbitrary about it,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're open to an exception,
Yeah,
then perhaps the question back to Mr. Box, was it, and the Garces family is, if we're open to an exception to go ahead and move, because we understand your predicament. And so if we're open to the exception to move your house south, what would you want, rather than us just arbitrarily
mhm.
giving a few?
Yeah, we're
feet
not
here,
telling
there,
you what
would
to do.
want?
Yeah, what
Well-
would you rather do?
But you still need to
Would you
balance
rather go
it.
20 on the front, which would give you 22 on the back? Or?
Well, and
22 on
actually,
the
even
front
if you
and 20
gave
on
them
the back.
20, they can set their house back farther. If we say it's 20, they don't have to stay at 20. They can go back to 25 if they want.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
The only thing is if we say 20 on the front and we say 20 on the back, but if we say 20 on the front and we say 22 on the back, then they can't move it.
Yeah, well, I was concerned, the only concern is that, like, okay, if we're trying to grant an exception,
Right.
it'd be good, very all of a sudden, like.
It needs
hey,
to be
you
the
move
whole
it 20,
thing.
And all of a sudden, the back of the house expands.
Yeah, that's true. So we need to
Right, we
set,
don't want
set the
that.
front and the back.
The front and the back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of
The
agree with
sunroom
Austin.
appears on the back of
though.
the house.
The sunroom appears, the walkout
Yeah.
deck that's covered.
I kind of agree with Austin. I kind of feel like this front is kind of sacred, you know? That's something we gotta protect,
Mm-hmm.
because it's sort of what Alpine is and stuff, you know, I
Mhm.
think, so, I don't know. I'm even struggling with the 25, really, to be honest with you.
Speaking as a realtor.
Yeah, just,
Well, and you know, corner lots are
Aesthetic.
always, they are difficult lots to
They are.
landscape and to do right. So,
Mhm, they are.
so I think if you make it too small, that also becomes an issue.
Mhm.
Is that little porch to the right of the main door
It's a part of the house, or just a porch off the
off the family room?
family room.
Is that
Like a
is that
secondary
is that a patio?
entrance? It's a porch. Like a
So
secondary
what-
entrance.
What,
kind
what
of.
do you think the distance is from that outside south wall to the envelope, building envelope? Right now, at 25 feet.
Oh, here, sorry.
Say that one more time.
So on the layout that has a 25-foot
You can
setback on the
touch,
front,
you can touch the screen
Okay.
and it will draw for him to look at it.
Actually, I think that our annotation's not working right now.
Oh, no.
nothing.
And now the screen's gone.
And lost all video.
In other words,
We lost everything.
if we punched it out 3 feet, is that porch now extending beyond the envelope line?
Close.
So we're talking about that little box
Huh? How far is
On
that
the-
corner away from the 25-foot marker?
with the 2 French doors coming out onto
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Well,
You're talking
is that-
2'8" setback from that front wall.
Okay. Is that covered?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, like a secondary entry to the house.
This would be the main entry with the stairs out, right?
So it goes straight to the family.
So we're talking that just to the right of the
Yeah,
25.
so you're saying like that would
That
pull
little
that
thing, right?
forward.
Yeah,
It sets back 2'8"
Just wondering how much of the building is
Exactly.
now crossing the line?
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
so it's 2. Did you get that, John? So there's 2 feet, 8 inches
Mhm.
in between those differences.
So we come close to accommodating that
Mhm.
without breaching that line.
Yeah, pretty close. All right, are we ready?
anytime anybody can make anyone can make an emotion at any point in time. And then we
Okay,
can discuss it, and if someone wants, they
I'd
can
like
make
to
a
see Ed
secondary
make a
motion, you know what I mean, so. Go ahead, make a motion, and then if anybody wants
we do
to,
it?
and then we can make another motion if that one has modifications, or
Okay, so
whatever.
So I'll make one and then you guys can change it. So
Look at this way.
I'm gonna recommend that we approve adjustment to the setback on the rear to 17 feet and adjustment to the front setback to 25 feet. Due to the fact that that will improve the overall neighborhood feel because the house will be further from the house behind them.
Okay, we have a motion by Ethan Allen. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second by Troy Slade. Okay, so discussion on that motion or a motion can go on top of it.
I like the 20-foot rear setback better.
Do you want to make a motion? Or do you want to ask him if he wants to modify his motion?
Motion to amend.
I'm open to the 20-foot.
I'll make a motion to amend that we recommend an exception be granted on this lot to a 20-foot rear setback and a
22.
22
22.
foot.
22-foot front setback.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by John McKay and a second by Alan McDonald. Does anyone have any discussion on that? Okay. Does anybody want to make an amendment to it, or are we good to vote on that motion? And then if that motion doesn't pass, then we're back to Ethan's motion, okay?
Okay.
So is there any discussion or any modifications anyone wants to request? Okay, so all in favor of the motion that sets the rear setback to 20 feet and the front setback to 22 feet. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
I'm gonna say nay.
Okay,
I didn't vote, so
we have to.
I guess I'll have to say I'm aye.
Okay, so then that motion will carry. So with Troy Slade, this is for Marla, Troy Slade voting nay and everyone else voting aye. Okay, so that moves forward to City Council with that recommendation. So, thank you. Okay.
That'll be next week, on Tuesday, let's see, is it the 23rd? 24th.
Yes.
And it's
I
at
know.
6
It's-
p.m.
it's-
So it's
yeah.
earlier than this week.
Welcome neighbors.
Welcome,
Yep.
welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just a different
Not let you
body.
guys down.
All right.
We'll look forward to it going up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like. Okay,
Next week.
next item on the action items is a public hearing for ordinance 2021-18, building height requirements. So we're gonna review the proposed ordinance change and make a recommendation to city council.
I
for
mean, I
this.
do wish, we've had these things where it seems like the buyers of property don't check
Yeah,
Alpine setback requirements.
well, if you've never
before-
built a house,
Yeah.
you don't know things
yeah,
like that.
yeah, Buying, before they buy a property.
Yeah.
but-
Absolutely.
But I mean, that lot just seems like that was,
Yeah,
it feels to me like they built the house that was meant for that lot.
Yeah.
And that was the best it could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they could have done a smaller house, but
I don't
in
know.
the area, it was a fitting size. Let's go ahead with the introduction to this public hearing and we won't open the public hearing, but we will listen to the proposed changes to the ordinance first.
All right, so tonight we have on our agenda, it's ordinance 2021-18. The proposal is to change how we measure the height of a structure. Currently, we measure from the average finished grade. And so the proposal would be to change that to natural grade. There are a couple other cities out there that do this. We've had some recent complaints about certain structures in the city being too tall. And so right now, I mean, either we say we reduce the maximum height of a structure. That's one way we could make structures lower. But another way that we could do that is, right now, we don't have any limit on how much fill you can bring on a lot. So if someone wants to raise the natural, the grade of that lot from the natural level to a higher building pad, they can do that right now under ordinance. The only thing that would limit that is our retaining wall ordinance. So as long as you can retain all that dirt on your property, you can keep building it up. And-
Unless you tie it to natural grade.
Right,
What's a structure defined as? A home or an accessory building or anything?
anything that has footings and the roof over it.
So I have
Well,
a
that would be a
question.
building, I guess, but, so, yeah, it applies to both structures and or buildings.
So if there's,
Primary or accessory buildings.
so if there is no house or a primary building, is a building an accessory building?
So yes, that's a good question. Jed told me that you guys had this question from last time, so let's just, it's probably the easiest thing is to go and look at our definitions here. So we have, let me just pull this up for you.
I mean, although the title would kind of give you an idea of that.
Yeah.
It is there, and actually, I don't think there's anything in our code that says there has to be a house in order to have an
Yeah,
accessory
other than the
building.
name
Okay.
says accessory.
Other than
So
it
it's
says,
accessory
to
other
what?
other than the title.
Well, let's
Right,
be awesome.
right.
Can you read it?
Yeah, here we go. This is the definition. So it depends on how you interpret this, I guess, right? So a detached subordinate building, the use of which is appropriate, subordinate, and customarily incidental to that of the main building or to the main use of the land, and which is located on the same lot or parcel of land with the main building or
I
use.
mean, with all due respect, I don't know how you can read that other than an accessory building is tied to or accompanies is accessory to another building. a
Yeah.
main
They-
building,
And
a
then they
principal
added
building.
or use of the land.
But
But even when you go to or to the main use of the
Land.
land and which is located on the same lot or parcel land with the main building.
Yeah.
Well, with the
Use.
main building
Or
or
use.
use,
Yeah.
right? So if you
Just
you
get
could,
rid of or use.
right.
Yeah, but
right,
if
right,
they-
right.
if
You
What if
could
you want to put
say,
a barn on a building? You
you
buy
could say, if you got rid
parcel
of
of
that, you
land
could say
and you have a
customarily,
thousand
right,
lots.
customarily incidental to that of the main use of the land and which is located on the same lot or parcel of land with the main use.
Yeah.
If you just took the second orders
Yeah.
in that, right? And that's. language.
Or, yeah.
So, if you want to read the use into it, then you get down to what are the permitted uses on a property.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so is it a permitted use?
Right.
For example, a single family dwelling, that's a use.
Right.
A
property.
horse property
That's a
is
use.
a permitted use in the city.
You know,
Very much so.
Yep. So,
So doesn't it come down to some degree, I mean, as we're just thinking about changes to or proposed ordinances, then, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? And as you're looking at this accessory building, then, and Jane brings up the point that if somebody has a lot in Alpine and all they want to do, they don't want to live on it,
Or put their
but they want
horse
their
on it.
cows or horses to live on it.
Right.
Or their llamas. Can they buy a lot and
Barn.
and otherwise just put a barn on it with no primary residence? And then just run, then just basically.
Unless
livestock
the
on it.
CCNRs prohibit it, I think they can with the way it's
Yeah.
written.
I mean,
Well, they
we
can,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
we have
that's what
examples
wanna
of this in the
change it.
past. So probably the biggest, most notable one that we've had in the last 10 years would be Bridle Up Hope.
Mhm.
It's a large horse facility on a property with no other main use or main building on there.
Right.
And the only reason there's not a
so-
complaint. Now, I have a question about that. Is that because it's not a commercial use because it's a 501c? I mean, why can there be a business there where that is? Because it's not in the first business commercial
Right,
district.
right,
So why
yeah.
can they be there?
So I mean, obviously, you have the business commercial aspect of it. The city council discussed that when it was approved.
Mhm.
And I think they because it was a nonprofit, they
Nonprofit.
felt like it was kind of an exception to that rule.
So-
I don't know how today's city council would interpret that, but that's what the council at the
Right,
time did.
right. And the barn that people have come to us about has only been proposed as a private use.
Yes, we have not, of all the information we've seen, it would, yeah.
Be a private use.
Private
If
use,
someone,
yes.
if someone chooses to have like wedding receptions in their yard, and say they happen to have one every weekend in their yard or something like that, does that fall under like a nuisance ordinance? Or what would someone do if they essentially started to use private property for,
For a commercial.
even if they didn't charge? If they had their company party there and then their friend's company party there, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Frequent things like that. What protects neighbors against something like that? Just
Code
a
enforcement.
nuisance
Good question.
ordinance?
What's that?
Good question.
Was somewhat.
That's a code enforcement issue when it turns
The code
into an
enforcement thing. So we had a good example of this a couple years ago. I guess it's actually probably 3 or 4 years ago now. We had a resident who had his own soccer facility behind his house, and he started doing soccer. He let them use it for a soccer training facility. So we had all these kids
Not
coming and going,
charging,
coming and
just-
going
yeah.
in the neighborhood.
People do that sometimes with their basketball courts in their basement.
It was dealt with by code enforcement.
Mhm.
He was made to be brought into compliance, but yeah, that wasn't
Okay,
okay to do in that area.
right, okay.
And so if whether it was a soccer arena, a tennis thing, or a horse
Or horse,
riding
right.
facility, whatever the case may be, if you turned it into a
Mhm.
type of commercial use, then it would become a code enforcement issue.
So I have,
Well, so, okay, but I'm thinking, all right, another issue that you could imagine, right? People love playing pickleball. And so, I've got a 1/2 acre lot. I'm gonna put pickleball courts on it.
Oh, can I come over?
And yeah,
And no
I'm actually
home,
gonna
just
put them,
pickleball
and so we can
courts.
play year round.
and the use of his
I'm
land is
actually
pickleball.
gonna, they're gonna be
Mhm.
covered. It's gonna be an accessory building with a retractable roof. So that we can play in the summer, in the sun, but we can play all winter. So I'm gonna buy a lot
It's a
and
nice
I'm just
pickleball
gonna build a
Good thing we know
pickleball.
him.
I'm gonna build a pickleball court on. it.
Right.
I'm
No, that's a,
I'm just throwing out a
well,
hypothetical.
actually, we've
right?
seen.
I'm
that-
not doing
Oh.
that. If I do, I'm
Darn.
I'm sorry,
Darn.
hypothetical.
That's
Because,
actually,
because we're thinking it in the terms of barns and horses and livestock.
that
But
actually
what if
happened.
you just have a lot in the middle of a neighborhood and I build an accessory building that's not accessory to anything,
Yeah.
but its intended use is a pickleball court, and so now in the middle of a residential, in the middle of a neighborhood is
Mhm.
a pickleball court.
And you could put a little parking lot.
I put a little parking, I
Well-
could have some on-street parking.
Yeah. I mean,
I've
so the
pickleball.
pickleball thing, I think would be limited because you could argue that is that a permitted use in the zone? An athletic facility.
A permitted use.
So we have accessory buildings, but we also have another definition, which is called a customary residential accessory structure. A customary residential accessory structure is defined as a structure constructed on the same zoning lot as a dwelling and which is intended to be incidental and exclusive to the use of the residents of the said dwelling, including but not limited to garages, carports, swimming pools, tennis courts, greenhouses, storage buildings, and satellite dishes.
If that's part of
so
a
your pickle-
recorded subdivision
Yeah.
though, not just a parcel of land.
Does it specifically say subdivision in there?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking you, is that any
It
parcel
would
of
be any
land?
parcel of land. Yeah,
Yeah.
any
but-
parcel of land.
So then,
But
how
this,
would an
this would be
arena-
something, getting back to Alan's
Uh-huh.
hypothetical, although I
Right.
would encourage him to build one, something like that. But I guess this is saying you have a dwelling, but if you get back to not having a dwelling, can you go
Right.
and build a
Yeah,
pickleball?
Could
would
you
argue
have a
that, no, I'm not
pickleball
customary
court or,
residential accessory structure because I'm not
It's your
building
land
it on
use.
the same zoning on the same lot as a dwelling.
Right.
Mhm.
So let's see, let's just browse at the permitted uses in the 1 acre zone for the fun of it here. So we have single unit detached dwelling, agricultural, including the raising of crops and grains, the raising and care of livestock
But
or
so hey, real
fowl.
quick, Austin, before we get to, like, the issue isn't the pickleball court. Because
Right.
that's just one example. I could also say, you know what? I want my hobby garage for my car collection. And I don't have enough, I've got a lot, but there's another lot,
It's just
down the
buildings
street.
without a
And I'm
home.
gonna put an accessory building on it, and I'm gonna put all my collector cars in it. And it's just, it's gonna be a big
Garage.
accessory building
building.
garage. Nobody's gonna live on it, but I'm gonna put my 20 hobby cars inside
Well,
that accessory building on that lot, that half acre lot.
Yeah.
3,
And-
one
and-
street over.
I get what you're saying, and I think it all so it does go back to this permitted uses. So if you go to item 5 in the permitted uses, look on the screen. So a customary residential accessory structure has to be integral to an approved dwelling. So if you had a garage, it'd have to be part of a dwelling. The list of permitted uses is very limited, actually. It's a single unit home, an agricultural thing, a horse or animal thing, and a public park. That's it. Other than that, any other type of structure would be a customary residential accessory structure and would have to be accessory to a main building.
So you're saying a riding arena fits in this?
Item 2 and 3 would.
Because it's part of item 3, which is for the raising
Yeah,
and
okay.
care or keeping of
Livestock.
Raising
Family
and care?
recreation.
Well, so I might actually argue that like if somebody's gonna, like, if there's a lot next to me and they said, well, hey, would you rather I built a pickleball court on this or a hobby garage or a cow barn? Like, oh, please, anything but a cow barn, right?
Yeah.
But that's what they could do.
But that's what they
He
could do.
just
They
sits
could do
around and
anything
thinks
else.
up ideas all day, I think.
No, but I guess what I'm driving
No,
at
it's
is.
great.
What I'm driving at is there was a time when Alpine was more rural, more
Yeah, right,
agricultural
right.
focused. But that time is, we're moving away from that.
We are changing.
Now
Yeah.
it's a high-end community with
Yeah.
expensive homes,
Right.
with fewer,
Yeah.
eventually when civilization comes in, dairies always move out.
Right.
That's kind of what happens.
Right.
And so, there's some places still in Alpine where there are, horses, livestock and others, but they're becoming, it used to be the norm, now it's increasingly,
Yeah, when
less.
you have
less of a
40
use.
acre farms, you don't care if your neighbor
Right,
builds a
right.
barn.
Right.
Right, right.
I'm just saying that like, as we try
Now
to
you-
pass ordinances that will have
Mhm.
impact 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Are we really looking for neighborhoods that have, that have a cow barn in the middle of the neighborhood with no primary dwelling on it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
I
my
think
thought would
that's
be
a
probably
separate,
not.
no, I
Yeah,
think
I would
that's
say you're
separate
right.
from what we brought up today, though. Because today we're talking,
Well,
we
we're
don't
re-
have to
So
decide
our
on it. The whole
discussion
thing's a
today is really
discussion.
focused on height
Height,
and
right.
we're not talking about use of the land.
But,
Right.
So,
but
Well,
we were
but-
trying to solve a
But
similar
it came
problem.
back to what's an
Exactly.
accessory building.
It did,
And so
exactly.
we pretty much figured out that really an accessory building is only
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
barn, right? Because we started looking at, well, should we redefine
Right.
or
Primary
amend the
accessory.
definition
No,
of
I
an
agree.
accessory building?
Yeah.
While we're also kind of talking about tying it to,
Well, because I mean,
to grade.
yeah, because this defines, in that one that defines accessory building, this defines what are uses of the land, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we get into this stuff.
Right, and I think it's great, it's a great discussion. It's not on our agenda to make any changes to, but I think it's a great discussion. And I think we should probably bring that back and have it on the
Yes,
agenda
yeah, I
item.
think so too. I think we need to take a-
As far as the
look at
height
that.
goes, I have a question on that though, because I've built 2 homes on lots that were the natural grade, the lot went from the street pretty much straight down 10 feet to the natural grade. And so it had to be, like, they went out, whatever the requirement was, you know what I mean? It wasn't natural, but the developer put dirt
Filled it
along
up
the,
10 feet first
yeah, they
to
did,
flatten it. and
yes,
then-
they did the road and then they put
yeah,
10 feet of dirt out and then it dropped off. And so if someone had to build their home from the natural grade, and that's 2 times I've done that because I wanted walkout basements on both of them.
Mhm.
That
so they
does
brought in-
not, that's a problem. And so especially with some of the hillside developments, you really couldn't build on it from natural grade. Like you would end up with a really weird squat looking house or a driveway that went down, which is a flood problem.
But essentially you could with an exception. Right? You would have to get an exception in that case.
There could be
Because it would be
cases where an
different.
exception is granted. So,
Yeah, right.
I mean,
So that would be. that
some
would
of
be
you have
the
been on the
argument
planning
against it.
commission long enough that you probably experienced the Willow Canyon height exceptions.
Mhm.
And so that we have a section of town that has a very restrictive height requirement, 25 feet above the natural grade.
Mhm.
And so, and these are some difficult lots to work on. And I would tell you that there's only been one home that didn't need an exception in that neighborhood,
So that's,
out of
I
30 plus homes.
think this is
Okay.
too extreme is what I'm saying.
So, I mean, we've also put together some research on this to see
Okay,
what
let's
other
see the-
hillside communities have done. And so
Okay.
let's just look at that. So we have, here up at the top, this is just Alpine City to give you kind of, okay, here's our numbers. This is how we shake out. But so really there's all the cities that we looked at, most of them measure it from the average finish grade, which is the same way that Alpine does that. So meaning you can come in kind of Jane's example, you can bring in dirt. Maybe she wants a walkout basement, so they raise a certain part of the lot so that she can have that walkout basement or whatever.
Well, and that was just graded to the street.
They're just
That
going
was
to the
just
street.
street level.
Okay,
To go to
that's just to
street
get it
level.
to street level.
Yeah, just to.
Was it down below the street before they brought it in? The
Yeah.
dirt?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if you're on the downhill side of the lot, or your lot's on the downhill side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna be below the street.
Right, right. And so you
Um,
have to bring it up now we put the foundation at the natural level of, with the foundation has to go at the natural, you have to get down to original dirt.
Yeah.
We ended up with 10-foot basements in it because you had to go so low to do that and then get it up to the height. So this isn't like someone grading above the street. I mean, there's that too. Someone could
Yeah, I
do
mean, there
that
are instances
where
where,
they do that.
where it makes sense to bring it in and maybe have it above, there are instances where a lot's, the ideal building pad would be above the street, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The 2 communities that don't measure from the average finish grade are Park City and Elk Ridge City.
Mhm.
Right.
So what I thought was
Keep
interesting,
wanting to
but
touch that.
Draper, Bountiful, Cedar Hills all
Which
measure
shows-
from the
Mhm.
average finish grade. Now, the details of that are a little bit different, some of them have a few little nuances that are different from the way we do it, but where is that measured from? And that type of thing.
And
And another interesting thing is when you get to Park City, they don't call, they have 3 different grades. They have natural grade, existing grade, and
Okay, so that
finished
would
grade.
take in my question.
And so the question is, what is natural grade? Well, if you go up to, and I think I have some pictures here, if you go up to the ridge at Alpine
Mhm.
and you try and look and say, okay, what
That is
is,
a perfect example.
what
They've
is,
built the
where's the
road
natural
up,
grade
they've,
there?
Yeah,
Okay, so look at this. This is the latest phase of the rigid Alpine. I mean, they're moving dirt around.
Yeah.
Underneath all of that, where's the natural grade?
and they
I don't
built,
know.
some of the roads went up
And
as
Is
well,
the
some
natural
of them went
grade
down.
what it was in 1980, or was it from 1900? What natural grade are we basing it off of?
Wouldn't the natural grade be as when they start building the homes, when they've got it all developed but what is that called?
I guess that would probably be more existing grade, but
Existing grade.
Existing. grade?
again, the definition changes from city to city. One city's natural grade may be different than another city's
Yeah.
natural grade, but I would say that's probably more of an existing grade. Let's say they got approval for a subdivision, the subdivision came in and developed it, excavated, whatever. reset the grades, and then that's the set grade, right? Maybe that's the existing grade, and then you say, okay, you have to build from that existing grade.
I think that'd be the easiest, don't you? And then.
But-
Even people buying the lots kind of know what they're getting.
There are instances where we do have lots around town, where people might like to build a barn or something like that, that are not in a recorded subdivision.
Mhm.
Right.
And so
And you've got the.
what is the,
existing
you
grade on
know,
the
there,
front.
what's the existing grade on that land?
Right.
Or the natural grade, or, you know, where you
Where
measure
it
from on
meets
that.
the street at a level, it meets the street at a level angle, but then.
Yeah, but I mean, it gets to, I mean, if we get back to kind of the structure that started some of this discussion, right? That structure doesn't go to the street, right?
No, it's quite a ways back.
It's quite a ways back.
not-
There's no street
I couldn't
That-
find the entrance to
that
it.
it actually borders, right?
I
Yeah.
found every side and I couldn't ever figure out.
You never
to
see how you
to
get
it.
in, yeah.
Yeah, it's the dirt road.
I think
Yeah.
it's horse.
There's a dirt
Mhm.
driveway that goes.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, if we
And
get,
that-
if we get back to the ridge too, so
Yeah.
I mean, we've, connected a road that goes past Grove Drive and goes in there, right? But that's all been graded up from where.
It
Yeah,
has.
I mean, it's
exactly.
all,
If you look to the south, it.
Right, so.
in some
those-
places,
those
it
lots
may be
can't
up
do that.
20
Yes.
feet.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're not gonna have your 30 feet of lot going like that. Your 30 feet front yard is gonna flatten out.
Right.
Yeah,
to the
I
front
mean,
door.
anybody who builds upon that's gonna wanna fill that out.
So,
to-
So,
to-
and-
My-
to
my
level it
thinking
off,
is that-
right? I mean,
that this, the way it's worded right now, I think is a problem. Because I don't think natural grade is,
so you don't think natural grade is the.
Defines it tightly enough.
I don't think it defines it tightly enough, and I think it causes more exceptions for people who are just trying to build a house at the street level.
Right.
So I mean, I like that concept of existing grade or street grade. Like you could bring it up to the street level. If it's below the street, bring it up to
So,
the street level and go from
another
there,
thought to
measure
think
up
about,
from the street level.
If you call it, let's just say we want to call it existing grade,
Okay,
okay?
Yeah.
We approved your subdivision, you're now have this grade,
yeah,
come in, I build my house, right?
right.
Okay, so now I build my house, but I want to landscape it, I want to make it look nice, so I'm gonna bring in all this wonderful dirt, we're gonna put in trees and big flower beds, and we're gonna raise up my yard. And and then guess what, 5 years from now, I want to build a garage. Well, where am I building that? Is that garage gonna be built on existing grade? Because my existing grade is now changed from the
Mhm.
original plat where my home was built. Now
Right.
it's higher. And so now his accessory structure is up higher than where the house was originally
But-
measured from.
But the accessory structure, so it basically sets the house as the highest point. Are you saying? that they
I'm
could
saying
slope it
that the
upwards
house
and they could
was
build
set
a
from an existing grade, but then that
Oh.
existing grade changed. And now
Higher?
his accessory structure is being built from a higher existing grade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
I
we're
mean,
getting
I-
higher.
Right, I mean, I can understand when I was thinking about this, what, it's like you have to keep a historical record,
Yeah.
of somehow of each of the lots.
Of all
to-
the topography of every lot.
Right,
has to
right,
have a-
because if you don't, then
Yeah,
what becomes the natural grade anymore, right?
Mhm.
If you want to build something else on it, what's the natural grade
well,
anymore?
and I think
Yeah.
there's I think a valid point, once the city is built out, is what will we consider the grade for these next normal thing to do is build accessory structures, once things are built, people tend to say, okay, let's do a pool house, let's do as time goes on, so it's a good question.
I guess what worries me the most in terms of, the discussion is the hillsides. Because I mean, we're moving more and more
Mhm.
to kind of hillside kind of construction. And I know,
It's the area that's
there's a house that I know of that was built on the hillside. And the people came in, filled it in, put a
Mhm.
nice walkout basement.
Sure.
And I mean, this was a hillside
Build
graded.
it, build it up, so
And
they had a
then
backyard.
flattened out a backyard because they wanted to put a built-in swimming pool.
Mhm.
Right, and
So
now
then they
around
had a
their
big-
property,
retaining wall.
Yeah, it's like all the way around their backyard is like a 14-foot retaining
Mhm.
wall because of that. And it's, and kind of destroys the hillside.
Yeah,
They have
that's
that
why
kind
the
of-
retaining wall
They kind of have
ordinance
that
was made
look,
to.
if
try
everybody
to
were to do
protect
that, you would just have these gigantic
Mhm.
things with
Fortresses.
retaining walls
Yeah.
out in here, right? And,
Yeah.
but I don't,
I
haven't
mean,
figured
it's,
out how to
it's,
get
it's
around.
an interesting conundrum because if I have a backyard that's like this, let's say my house ends right here, then my backyard's like this.
Yeah,
I have an unusable backyard. So are we saying this guy doesn't have the right to raise his backyard up and make it usable
Mhm.
as a
No.
landowner?
And I
you know?
think that's why like I said, the retaining wall is supposed to limit.
Yeah.
That's
Like
true.
today, we.
Yeah, but he bought it, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like, okay, well, this is what it looked like when you bought it. You knew you weren't, if you wanted a backyard, go buy a flat lot. Would
Yeah,
be
but
the
that's not-
counter-argument.
Yeah, but that's
right.
not the way ordinances are written, and so people can do that, and they know it.
Right. So I mean, to Alan's point, if we just
Mhm.
decide to go natural grade,
Mhm.
if you buy that lot, you gotta be able to build on it.
True.
And you get what you get.
And that natural grade would do that, but you would have to grant exceptions to all of the natural grade that need to raise their house to street level.
right, right.
So, could you call out that one exception or something like that? I'm just saying, so that you didn't have an exception
So-
coming in every single time.
One of the cities that we looked at, and it's not inside the packet, because I found it just earlier today, was Bountiful. Bountiful, what they do, it's the same thing as us, they measure from the average finish grade, but they say you have 10-foot limit on fill. So you can bring in up to 10 feet,
That's reasonable.
I like
That's a
that.
good idea.
and that's how they do it in
I
Bountiful.
like
I
that.
like that, actually.
But then,
Yeah, you
you
can
can
only
get
fill
everybody
it so
living at
much.
10.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. For tonight, I love and I think we should keep discussing, but can we table the public hearing and making a decision on this, or do we need to hold the public hearing but not make a decision, or?
Well, because we've advertised a public
Yeah.
hearing, we better,
Yeah, so
Hold it.
let's hold a public hearing.
Yep.
So-
Okay.
So let's
Yeah.
open the meeting for public comment on the height restriction ordinance that we are looking at. Would anyone like to make a comment? Did we receive, we're not receiving any comments.
We're not receiving.
We're not
comments
receiving
online.
comments online anymore.
no, we're not. So,
Anyone?
Well, and I mean, to me, this is a little bit frustrating. We have people that are upset about this barn, but when we talk about how we're gonna try to.
Yeah,
address it,
probably may not have,
We have no
they
one
may
here
not
to
have
talk about it.
they may not have attached the height ordinance to
I mean,
that.
To that.
Who knows? Or they're all wiped out from Alpine days. Okay, we're
Yeah.
going, if none of you would like to comment, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
There we go.
Okay. Public hearing closed.
right. So you have the option tonight, you can make a motion, you can table it for further discussion in a future
Mhm.
meeting. Or you can make a motion to deny it.
Okay. Personally would like to table it, but I don't know that I can even make that kind of a motion, can I?
I'd like to make a motion that we table the further discussion of ordinance 2021-18 building height requirements to a later time.
We have a motion from Ed Bush and a second from Alan McDonald. Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Would you get the information from Bountiful to us to look at
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at
that you
Yeah.
found after? the
Yeah,
packet was
I'll
put
add it to
together?
this list.
And then-
so-
that. Yeah,
I think we
It's
would
on
like to all kind of think about this a little bit personally and
Yeah.
kind of gather some thoughts
Because
and,
ultimately, there's gotta be some, there's gotta be some accommodation.
Yeah.
I'm not like, when I say, hey, you
you
bought it,
got
you're
what you
stuck with
got,
it.
yeah,
I mean.
you're being extreme,
yes,
facetious,
yes,
but,
that's- Well, I'm just being the devil's advocate.
right,
and-
Right.
And because I'm a devil.
that's because that's what you do.
But,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think Bountiful's starting to get,
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, where it allows for someone to build up an unusual situation or make a reasonable
yeah,
flattening of their
so-
yard.
So if you figure out some type
Mhm.
of buildup is allowed in conjunction with retaining wall
Mhm.
ordinances.
What's the maximum of the retaining wall height?
There is none.
There is none.
Well, your lot would be gone.
You have to have
If you're doing
tiers.
tiers,
Wow.
you have to break it up and you have to, but
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, you could have, if you had enough space, you had just a mile, you
Right.
could keep doing tiers and tiers and tiers and tiers.
Unless you ended up being limited by
How much fill you can
how
bring
much
in.
fill you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Bring it.
As I think Jed said in the last meeting, I mean, you could build a tower if you had enough room.
But let's,
Yeah.
okay, but to that point, if I have a very deep lot that's like this, I
10
can do
feet
10
here.
feet here, 10
Yeah.
feet here, 10 feet here. 10.
Exactly.
But it maintains
It still
The
maintains
profile
the
of the mountain,
slope, the
right?
profile, yeah.
to it, to an
Yeah,
extent.
it keeps
at
the
least.
slope
Yeah.
the same.
It just raises the whole thing.
Yeah.
10 feet. Any communications?
Alpine Days was
Did you all go to
Yeah,
Alpine
yeah,
Days?
Alpine Days.
It's all
Sure
Yeah,
glad
in the
everybody
books
showed
now,
up to
so.
flip hamburgers.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah,
How many
sorry
people
about that.
came?
It was me,
man, we're working our heads
off,
man.
man.
You I sent a text because I couldn't show up and they're like, and Troy said they had plenty of help, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
they did.
didn't have plenty of help.
They didn't need us.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
we just
okay.
kind of walked
We
off.
were
Oh,
wandered
okay.
off.
not even asked.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Whoosh.
Well,
I feel better.
John and I hung around for a while
Yeah.
and
Oh, we were
Just-
we
and
were
watch
being
lawn.
social.
swayed away.
Was lawn working
Oh.
away?
Swept away.
Lawn did
Okay.
it all.
Oh, well, I don't
Yeah, you
feel
have to
nearly
push
as
line
bad.
away.
I ended up texting them because I was stuck in
And
a
at some
meeting.
point, John and I were asked to go over and squirt ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise on people's burgers.
How did you do?
Well, we politely declined, because we said nobody wants a stranger squirting condiments on their burgers. And the issue was kind of a certain politician politicking at the beginning
Uh-huh.
of the condiment line and not letting people move. It wasn't people weren't ketchuping quickly enough.
Oh, people
It was
were
that there was
courting.
politicking going on.
That
and
always
to a
happens
choke
at
point.
Alpine Days.
Where they're like pro ketchup and anti-ketchup politicking going on here.
It was just that there was a meet and greet
You know,
once you got
Meet
to the
and-
table.
A meet and
And
greet.
it was that, yeah, it wasn't a ketchup issue, it was a
Yeah.
politicking issue. But-
I missed out.
Well, no, John, and I just said, we're not doing
We're
that.
done.
They're not doing that.
Good
They're
decision.
Smart people. That's right. That's smart.
Oh,
You made a ketchup on people's hamburgers.
More.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah, oops.
New burger here, please.
Oops.
Okay, let's get the approval of the minutes done.
Where are we with our seventh member?
I need to talk to, the mayor has been.
It's on the
talking to
tentative
people.
agenda for next week's meeting,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure where we're at in that
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
so.
yeah. Because it'll probably be on the agenda for every meeting.
It'll be on there until
the
there is
mayor
one.
actually
Yeah,
proposes.
yeah, so I don't know if the mayor's ready to make a,
But
Well, we'll
hopefully
still be
soon.
here, we
Proposal,
really
yeah.
cannot do the minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I hope the mayor's accountable.
Somebody
for that.
step up.
the seventh seat, it's required to have a grammar background, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we
Right,
need.
right.
An English teacher.
An English background.
Right,
yeah.
you need to have some restrictions here.
Mhm.
Right. No, so we gotta do something here.
Okay, so motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting of August third,
Yeah.
2021.
Okay, we have a motion from
Seconded.
Alan McDonald and a second from Ethan Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn by John McKay and a second by Alan McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Yes.
Yes, yes. All right.
Yeah, I started the only one with the float thing going on there.